Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and fellow League of Legends lovers. Welcome back. It has been another 2 weeks, which means it is time for another LOL patch notes. Every time, I swear to God, I say these are going to be short, and every single time, I lie. I lie every time. But either way, we are back once again so I can go over the patch notes. I have actually been playing League once again for the pure fact that the Hall of Legends event is out. And I believe I already said most of my opinions about that in my Faker reaction video. So, basically TLDR, the Hall of Legends, its own little mini pass for the $500 Faker skin. Even though it could be lesser if you want it. It could be 50, it could be 200, then it could be 500. It really depends on how much money you want to shell out. And I kind of saw this thing from Necrit recently that really put this thing in perspective for me. And at the end of the day, even in the reaction, I said, it really doesn't matter because it is all visual. It is all cosmetic at the end of the day. It doesn't affect gameplay. And Necrit kind of said, like, oh, maybe because we're getting all these new things like Arena, like the new PvE game mode Swarm, which I also covered on this channel, maybe to pay for all the servers, because the servers are expensive, they're offering these higher tier things because people are going to buy these things, and they already have. The Ari skin is selling, from what I can hear so far, decently well. But maybe they're just trying to fund better things for the free-to-play players. I really hope that's the case. There's no way to know. But either way, because the pass is out, I have actually been playing a little bit, so I do have a little bit of a grip on what's going on, especially in ranked, because that's the majority of what I've been playing. I've been my ranked craze again. But either way, I believe this patch might be 3 weeks. I know one of the patches coming, either this one or the next one, is going to be about 3 weeks long. I just don't know which one. And hopefully they say. But aside from that, let's see what's going on. And hopefully we could do this quick and see what's happening. So, patch 14.13 is the Froggo patch. Oh yeah, I fucking saw those skins. I got a little bit of things to say about that. That's it. That's the text. Wow. So I'm assuming this is going to be a pretty light patch, and hopefully so, because I don't want to be here forever. With patch 14.13, we have a handful of champion balance changes, as they always do. Small updates to assassin keystones, oh joy. And a pretty major VARUS adjustment. Oh, with the reworked passive to synergies with attack speed. Okay. Over in Arena, they have some balancing changes, which the fact that they're balancing Arena and the fact that it's been doing so well really means that mode is probably going to become permanent. Everyone thinks it. Riot basically is teasing it. The fact that it's come back 3 times and is still retaining playership, or, player interest, unlike fucking Earth, which they shoved down our throats, I think it really is going to become a permanent game mode. There's no way. They just need to figure out how to do mastery correctly in it, and then we're all good. Then I will start playing it more. But either way, because I like free chests. But anyway, I love skins. So let's see where we're at. So, a free champion rotation exclusive to Arena. Wow. Oh, I never even realized that. Because I'm an elder of League of Legends, I can pretty much play any champion I want. I mean, they literally have the blue essence important for people like us who have gained hundreds of thousands of blue essence. But, yeah, no, that's crazy. I didn't even realize that. A lot of people probably can't even play a lot of the champions if they're new to this shit. Wow. Anyway, over in ARAM land, which is one of my favorite lands now, we're also adding a cooldown to reroll repick, so you don't have to worry about someone sniping the champ you just had. Oh? Really? Wait, what the fuck? Wait, is that good or bad for you? I'm a little confused. But that's actually really interesting. I'm curious about that. Anyway, let's look at the patch. So, pretty light patch skin-wise, system-wise. Obviously some buffs and nerfs, but the fact that we're only getting 2 skins, and they're big enough here to where I can actually see and tell who they are, even though I kind of knew beforehand. It's Fizz and Milio, which, Fizz, does he need a new skin? Not really, but he hasn't got one in a while. And the Milio one is really fucking good, I think. I actually really like the Milio one, but I'll talk more about that at the end. But either way, excuse me, this patch cycle overlaps with Riot's annual summer break, so League and Riot is going on a week-long hiatus to recharge, relax, and maybe even finish their Hall of Legends passes. Which, just to kind of talk on that a bit, the Hall of Legends pass is so easy to go through. When they said it was 100 tiers, because regular passes in League are 50 tiers, and then you could obviously infinite repeat it for more tokens, but the Hall of Legends pass is 100 tiers, and when I heard that, I'm like, oh my god, they're only giving us like 3 weeks to do this shit. How the fuck are we going to finish it? And to be straight up honest, it is really easy to finish. You finish it extremely quickly. I don't even know how or why, but you just do. Like, I've had mine done for a while now, which is why I stopped playing League until the next patch comes out, which hopefully is Anima Squad. But either way, so this one is the patch that's going to last 3 weeks, and then after this, we are going to get right into the action with Anima Squad, which I'm very, very excited for. So, again, I'm not expecting too much with this patch because it is preceding a very, very big event. Anyway, so the week-long break during July 4th will make patch 14.13 last 3 weeks. So there we go. I get a little bit of a break myself. Nice. Until July 17th brings patch 14.14, and that's all cool. So let's get right into the changes. Brand. What do I think of Brand? Brand is kind of just normal. I think he's a little annoying. He's not oppressive, thank God. But I definitely don't think he... I mean, he could do damage. Like, Brand could definitely do damage, but the main thing I say when I feel as oppressive is early game. Now, I don't know if this is because Brand got nerfed a lot, or if this is because there's been a lot of things to just counteract it. And the main things I'm saying is D-Shield is one, and the next biggest one is the stupid rune in the green tree, where if you get hit, you recover your lost missing health. On top of Ocean Dragon and all these other things. The new mastery, or sorry, the new rune in ADC, where if you kill something, you get health. The lifesteal mastery. There's a lot of ways to mitigate Brand's damage now that I feel like weren't really in the game before. Even though they did take a big crack at healing, you know, oh so bit ago. Big bit ago. I feel like Brand is not really crazy. So I could see them buffing him. I doubt they're going to nerf him, but his damage is decent later on. But I feel like Brand is not where he used to be. I used to be scared of Brand. Now Brand is just a little bit of an annoyance. So let's see. Brand is performing well almost everywhere. Wow. So we're taking back some power. We're mainly targeting mid and bot, because that's only where he goes. If you go Brand jungle, you deserve to be smacked. And these changes through his passive and rank up incentives, mid and bot max E second, which is crazy, since support and jungle are at more reasonable power levels. So, wait, when they say bot, they mean AD. Wow. And obviously he's not building AD, he's building full AP, but... So let's see. So the mana restore is lower, so that's fine. He should be a little mana hungry with how much he just spams you. And then the E is now going down by 20 base damage later. Wow, I feel like this does barely anything. Cool. Gangplank, what do I think of GP? I think GP is good. I think in a similar way, he's kind of like Brand. A lot of these people, I feel like either got online too early or were really oppressive. So Brand is more of the oppressive type. I think GP, for the most part, if you were good at GP, the game kind of ended for you in lane at like 10 minutes or pre, basically once he got Sheen. If you're against a skilled GP player, you're basically fucked. Now, this isn't to say that if you learn GP, you shouldn't be able to fuck someone. And it really goes into this, where's the line of like, if you're good at a high skill champion, should you just dominate everyone? I don't know the answer to this question fully, but GP makes me ask the question, which means you got to be careful with him. But I think later on in the game, GP is one of the biggest forces to be reckoned with, sometimes even more so than Kale. Like, those barrels, they're barrels of death, Jesus Christ. So let's take a look at what they're doing. I can possibly see them nerfing him because I feel like his late game is probably one of the best late games in the entire game, and he's not even an ADC. And to get to it, even though it does take a little bit of time, I feel like it's still decently quick because I've seen some GPs go stupid mode. Either way, as atomization has changed. Oh yeah, he did get hit hard by the atomization thing, but I think they already adjusted for that in one of the previous patches. But anyway, has changed around Gangplank so much so too must he, as Trinity Force is basically mandatory, so he can no longer rush crit chance, where walking back some of his crit scaling and giving him guaranteed value in its place as both a direct buff and a continued invitation, so you can build other shits. Where for most people they don't like that, but for GP I guess they do. Which aren't solely based on one-shotting enemy teams with critical strikes. I'll say this right now, critical strikes are GP's bread and butter. That's what GP players plan for. That's so thematic. I don't like that they're changing it from that. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't know if GP mains are going to like this. I'm not a GP main, so I don't fucking know. But I don't like this. But either way, let's see. I don't even know what they're doing. So, the powder keg slow. Its base slow is going up, but now, or before, you would get some extra based on crit chance. Now you're just getting it whatsoever. So it's a slight nerf later on if you have a lot of crit, but overall it's a straight buff. I think this is just better. GP is just better. This is like E formula adjusted. It's really buffed, so that's cool. GP's more annoying. Whoopee. Gragas. So I feel like Gragas was one of the people who really needs a VGU. I think his gameplay is pretty dated. It's sometimes wildly, I want to say, oppressive. Gragas is low key really good, but I've played him, and to me, I just don't like him because he feels like shit. He feels old. If they made his animations feel better, because sometimes even though it's just looks, it really contributes to how the character feels. To me, he feels like shit. Like, he does a lot of damage, and there's like this Gragas man out there, the one that goes Bomba, where like he's really good, and Gragas can do really scary things. Now, it's not back in the day Gragas, way back when I first started League. That Gragas could one-shot people with just ulting or queuing. Like, it was scary. But this Gragas is still a force to be reckoned with. Now, I think Gragas is getting more and more in the spotlight because of people like Bomba. But, I mean, that's not actually his name, but because of people like him, and because one of my people actually really likes Gragas too, it really makes you think. When you put it on paper and you hear, like, he has, like, a 3-second, I think, stun on his E or something, a knock-up, like, it's very, very low cooldowns. He has great lane sustain. He has great healing, really good damage. I just think he looks and feels like shit. So I really don't like playing him. I don't like his whole theme and lore either. He's a giant drunk fat man in the north. So definitely not for me, but I feel like he's strong. I could see Gragas getting a little bit of a smack on the belly, but let's see. Passive heal reduced. So like I just said, he has a lot of sustain. Gragas is quite hard to answer in lane due to his low counterplay trades. Yeah, he literally just, if he lands the on you, he gets everything else. If you're a Gragas player, and this is where Gragas players like to style on you too. Like, they style on you, they don't even kill you like normally. They kill you in style, which is kind of funny. But either way, Gragas is quite hard to answer in lane because if he E's you, he basically gets everything he wants. We're targeting his sustain by tamping down, what the fuck? Tamping down power from his passive to make him less immovable. The heal was buffed for jungle clear years ago, which is no longer necessary due to healthier clears nowadays. Anyway, yeah, because the jungle became baby mode. So either way, his passive is going down by 1%. He's a little bit less healy, so that's fine. Not much change there, honestly. Graves. Graves has always been the premier early game jungler. He used to get MR and armor from his grit stacks before. He used to be an ADC way, way back in the day. Now I think he's alright. I think he's decent. I don't think he's crazy good. I think if you're really good at Graves, it's sort of almost like a GP situation where if you main the character, you do a lot of good things on him. But I really don't feel like, again, similar to the whole theme of this patch, I guess, a lot of characters are not where they used to be in their apex. Graves is definitely not in his apex, but Graves is alright, but I don't think he's crazy. He's more, a lot of these people are kind of neutral. Let's see. Graves' build damage amount and clear speeds are reasonable. I agree. But he could use some extra durability, which is interesting. Are they going to give him the MR back from his grit? They nerfed his E, and they think it was too harsh, so they're reverting it. So it's literally just going back to what it was. He's gaining bonus armor per stack, which adds up to a lot because he can get a lot of grit stacks. I think he could get up to 8 grit stacks or something like that. So he can actually get a pretty decent amount. So even though it's only a difference of 2, that 2 adds up to about 16 because it's times 8. So that's pretty decent. That's not bad, especially early. Armor, MR, and move speed, I think, are some of the most misunderstood stats in the game, especially move speed. Move speed, I think, is one of the craziest ones, especially if you're higher elo. I think higher elo people really, really abuse move speed without even knowing it sometimes. And then armor and MR, obviously, they're more valuable the lesser of it you have. So the more you give early, the better it is, by a lot. Anyway, Graves is slightly better. Callista! Okay, so I see a big paragraph here. I don't know what they're saying yet, though, because as always, I don't like to read these. I like to give my opinion. What do I think of Callista? I think Callista's interesting. Again, she's also not in the Apex, but Callista almost sort of, at least in the higher levels of play, sort of requires, I mean, obviously not literally, but she sort of requires an actual support to be played. Now, obviously, if you're not a stranger to the channel, you'll know I really don't like the current culture of the bot lane, how it's like mages and all this bullshit. Sometimes caster supports, which is better than mages, but I just hate mages. But a lot of the times, we're not really getting too many, at least in the elos I'm in, actual tank engage supports. I call those like the old school supports. They're actual supports. And Callista really works well with them. Like, Callista's best combos are usually Blitzcrank, Thresh, Leona sometimes, Nautilus. I mean, the Ballista combo is famous, right? But these are all things where higher up people kind of understand that, hey, Callista works the best with these. And Callista's pretty fucking good. Now, she's not like other carries like Jinx, Kog'Maw, Smolder, where late game they just tear you a new one. But I feel like Callista is sort of in the line of like, she's in a similar vein to maybe Draven and Samira, where early you can make things happen on her to try and snowball a lead. Now, again, she's not a hyper carry like Jinx, but she is still pretty decently good. And I imagine in pro play these are accentuated even more so. So I can actually imagine a world where Callista might get a nerf because she hasn't really been touched. And when she has, I feel like they've kind of low-key buffed her. The biggest thing they always try and balance around is her E, because the E is basically her whole kit anyway, aside from the ult. And at certain points, they made it fully reset with full mana. At certain points, you lost mana for it, and people complained. Callista's a very feast or famine type of character, and then they even made it. I don't know if this was there on release because it's been that long, but Callista does 90% of her actual damage. It's just a thing in her passive that says you will not do 100% of the damage you have. You're going to do 90% of it. So she's literally getting like an ARAM styled nerfed where she's just doing 10% less damage for some odd reason. And that could kind of tell you where she was sitting at in the meta a while back. But either way, I can see a world where Callista gets nerfed, but let's see if that's the reality. So, Callista, base attack damage reduced. Oh god, I was right. W minimum non-champion damage and non-champ execute threshold removed. W non-champion damage cap reduced. R cooldown increased. Wow. So one of the things about Callista that I really enjoyed was she's a different type of ADC, you know. Her autos are different where if you lose vision, they don't go through, they actually just straight up miss. And I don't know why that is, but they straight up miss. Obviously, she has the little gimmick, or I wouldn't even say a gimmick, it is a mechanic of her jumping, right? Autoing, you could auto attack and move and sort of jump. So she's very mobile. She could kite extremely well. Very unique for an ADC. And her main thing is she was the first ADC that I kind of remember that stacked something infinitely. No other ADC at the time of her release stacked anything infinitely. She stacks her spears infinitely when she autos you, and then she E's you, and then she kills you. I think that was such a novel concept at the time, and I really enjoy infinite stacking, scaling anything. So I really like Callista. Callista does hold a special place in my heart. It's just later on in the game, it's a little bit hard to do her because her damage is very backloaded, not front-loaded. So it's like, at the end of the fight, after you've autoed 50 times, that's when you get your big damage. Not to say her autos don't do damage, but again, the main thing you're trying to do with Callista is pop the E. The E is the majority of your damage most of the time. It's hard to say because I really don't want to ignore her auto attacks, but her E is basically the big kit, the big, wow moment of her kit. And to do that, you basically need to wait till at the end of the fight or at the end of whenever you're fighting. Whereas for other ADCs, their damage is pretty consistent, or like Jhin, I mean, for Jhin, it even is consistent, and then there's a big burst at the end. For Callista, it's a little lackluster compared to what you're trying to do until the end. So Callista kind of has to wait, and late game, I think that really hurts her. But it doesn't really matter too much because, again, she's an ADC, her autos are going to do damage. But she just can't compete with the top people. But she's probably right below it. If there's S tier, I would definitely put her in A tier, for sure. If not in the middle. But either way, let's see what they're doing, or let's see what they're saying. Callista's win rates are roughly appropriate considering she's harder to play than the average ADC. True. But she's also been a top tier pro threat all year long because pros abuse her. True. As she's getting pretty stale in the pro scene, so they want more characters to be played because they want a nice viewing experience because they want money. We're delivering some nerfs that will hope disproportionately affect pro play. We're toning down her coordination reliant pieces and clarifying the special rules of her W by removing some of them. What the fuck? And adding the rest of the tooltip. We're also doing a small pass on recommended runes. Okay, so let's see what they're doing. So her AD is going down, which hurts. Her W, minimum non-champ damage, non-champion execute threshold, interesting. Non-champion damage cap is going way down. Wow. And then Fate's Call is going down. So I guess the W really helped you push lane or, I don't know, deal damage to whatever non-champions there was. And you would execute things pretty fucking quickly. Because at the end of the day, right, this is almost like a Targon's passive, where if you hit something and then your support hits something, it's going to do a burst of damage. Max health, by the way, I believe. And you get the gold for it, even if your support doesn't have a support charge up from their item. So it almost did kind of function like a little mini Targons from what I remember. And I guess it just really helped push the lane faster, which if you're, if you know about level advantage and stuff, you're probably non-low elo anyway. So I guess they nerfed that for that reason. I could kind of see that. And then Fate's Call obviously just got nerfed because It's a really, really good just, I'm going to save you and you can re-engage if you want, or you could just engage. I think Fate's Call gives you so many options as the support that it's actually a really, really strong ability. It's basically, as long as the ADC presses the button, you could have just so many options and get out of so many things. Granted, it is on the ADC, and I actually really like that fact. I like the fact that you kind of have to work together. Like, the support can't use it whenever they want, which I don't know how they even would, but Riot could find a way. But it's the support and the C kind of doing in unison. Like, they both have to do something, which is good. But Callista's definitely a little bit worse from this. I actually do believe in the hands of normal players, this doesn't matter at all. But in the hands of pro players, will this matter? I honestly don't know. I don't know if the reason like this is so oppressive is because it helps push the lane faster, you execute minions faster. Maybe that's how you get the lead. Because Callista wants to be aggressive. He really does. So maybe this works out, maybe it doesn't. I honestly don't know. This is more ranked related, and I actually agree that it is. Or sorry, not ranked, pro. This is more pro related, and I actually fully agree that it is. So, yeah, we have to take a rain check on that. We'll leave it there. Karthus. What do I think of Karthus? I think Karthus is fucking weird, man. I think Karthus is like alright. I think he's a very high skill champion. I think if you suck dick, you can't play Karthus. Even though people will try and justify it by saying, oh, but I'm dying, I'm supposed to, I'm Karthus. Shut up, you suck. So, Karthus is weird. I think he's alright. I could see him going either way. Karthus is still performing too well, particularly in higher levels. Reliably scaling into dealing oppressive damage that is difficult to avoid, even though you have to be good to even do it. So it goes back to the question of if you're good at a hard champion, should you just straight win? So we're lowering his early game damage and clear to account for how much consistent Blackfire Torch makes his games. So it feels like Blackfire Torch was overly good, and I imagine they might actually nerf it, because it really feels like a lot of people kind of went not crazy mode off of it, but it really helped a lot of people similar to Karthus. But that might be an item issue. So magic damage is going down by 3. Wow. And it's base damage too. I mean, I guess that matters because you do Q a lot, but if you do what? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, you're doing 15 less damage with 5 Qs, but it's like, and I guess that is doubled if they're a single target, but I feel like this is next to nothing. Whatever. Kennen! What do I think of Kennen? I know they touched Kennen recently. I forgot how they did it. I think... Oh no, I kind of remember. I think the major thing they did was they made casting his ult feel better or something. They did something with like how he ults, which I think is really fucking good from what I saw. I haven't seen it though. I haven't seen Kennen be played almost at all, ironically enough. And with the new premier top laner on the way, Aurora, which I also reacted to on this channel, I think Kennen's going to have some competition. Now, Kennen is basically there for team fighting. His laning's alright, but he's a team fighter. But because I haven't seen him, I can imagine him getting a buff. Because either there's no Kennen mains where I'm at, or he's not strong enough to where people care because he's not OP. And unless he's OP, I feel like not many people are going to play him unless they like him. So, let's see. Base health reduced. Never mind, they nerfed him. Moving while casting his ultimate feels great and carries a meaningful amount of power, so we're simply taking away some to account for that. So the buff was really good. The base health from 611 to 580 is a decent little slap, but not too bad. Okay, cool. But yeah, no, he's a lot better now. So you ideally want to have some form of a counterplay, because once you get Zanya's, there's almost no counterplay to his ult if he gets you in it, right? Obviously, he does have to stay on you, and he has things to help him with that, aka his, I forgot if it's his E or his W, because I know the Q is the Shuriken. I believe it's the W, but I don't know. But anyway, his lightning form helps him get on you. He has flash. Proto Belt, I believe, is still in the game, but I don't know. And now he can move. So it's really easy to do what he wants to do and what he needs to do to be an actual champion. But it's a little too good because that shit carries team fights. Him and Rumble, I'll always put in the same boat of like, they're basically just there for their ult for the team fights. Not to say they don't do anything else, but that's their whole gimmick. But kind of slightly worse, so that's cool. I fucking hate the shit out of Lee Sin. I hate this character. They gave him the ASU. Everyone loved it. I don't care. I don't like him. What are they doing? Lee Sin is weaker than he ought to be. He always is. And unless you make him scale well, he's always going to be. So, unless you make him oppressive as fuck early. He's getting buffs. He's already pretty lethal right now, so we're paying up his defense outputs instead. If they buff him mid to late game, that's actually what's going to be a meaningful buff. I think buffing his early game, unless you really just want to make him the best jungler in the game for snowballing leads and stuff, he's already really good early. So it's like, I don't know what else they could do with him aside from just break him in that way. Unless actually help him in ways that matter. But anyway. Also noteworthy is that about 25% of Lee Sin players max Tempest Cripple second, which appears to be worse than the more traditional double W max. I mean, I max that second too whenever I play this fucker. So we're making that less wrong by front loading some of W's power. So this is the point where this is another instance of players forcing Riot to do what they want, not what Riot wants. Riot can like keep doing things, but at the end of the day, if people don't follow it or don't care, Riot at the very least is catering to them and they're working around them now. So that's good. Either way, the health growth is going up by 3. So I think that's a total of what? 18 extra? I'm not really sure, but I don't care. So he has slightly more health, and then the W shield is going up by 20. Early, at least. That's nice, I guess. Lee Sin's slightly better. Lissandra, as I always say with Lissandra, I think she's pretty decent. I think she's hard to play. I think Lissandra's main thing is she's just very low range. I think her passive, especially in ARAM, is really fucking good. I think her passive should be a little bit better, though. I mean, you kind of only get hit by it if maybe you're in the middle of the team fight and you don't notice it. You might have to waste something. Sometimes you could just straight up avoid it by walking. But for the amount of damage it does, I guess it's kind of fair. But the passive is good. Maybe might need slight adjustments in terms of the exploding like icicle thralls. But aside from that, her main thing is just range. Like Lissandra's she's very interesting. I'm trying to think of like thematically the concept she's trying to like envelop. She's trying to like hold the niche over. She's basically an ice witch, right? She's the ice mage. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones like that. I mean, obviously we have Anivia, but Anivia is more like elemental nature goddess chicken. Lysandra is more like an ice mage, and I don't know if she's that crazy. I think her kit's weird. Her kit definitely is not for the faint of heart, because to be a good Lysandra, and I've only seen these a handful of times in my entire league career, I saw Lysandra one time that was so good. She was the engage, the damage dealer, like the everything. Like she went in, ulted herself, well W'd, then ulted herself to start the fight. Then after the fight was started, if she was still caught out, if the team didn't help her immediately, she had Zanya's. A good Lysandra can be very, very impressive, but it's very hard to do, again, because of her range. But I think she's really good. I just think she's really hard, and I think it's past the point of it's so hard for the majority of people, I could see them giving her a buff, personally. So let's see if I'm right. We're improving how well Lysandra does her good matchups, as we don't think she does well enough to justify picking her over other champions. Yes, because she's very hard. So we're decreasing her W cooldown for more catches and wave clear and buffing her damage on the main spell. Because if you don't have good core mechanics, like good spacing or just good knowledge when to go and when to not, I think it's really hard to play her because again, you have to be on top of them to use your W, unless you're a pussy. But if you're a pussy, you're not playing Lysandra at her best anyway, and you can just play someone else that's like a zoning mage or a long range mage anyway and do way better. But either way, her Q damage is going up by 5% scaling. It's pretty whatever. And her W cooldown is going down earlier by 2. That's a pretty decent amount. Lysandra's slightly better. Not bad. I don't think it pushes her into any crazy thing, though. Misfortune! Okay, so Misfortune is a little weird. Now, Misfortune is one of the ADs I don't necessarily like playing unless I like having some fun sometimes. It's a shame she got the pseudo-ultimate, but I think Misfortune is weird because she likes a lot of other builds, and in the past, Riot has kind of pushed MF to kind of go for a lot of crit builds, even though people still don't care. I don't think this is going to be a Lee Sin situation where they kind of mold around what the people are doing anyway. I really hope they don't either, because I love crit ADCs. I don't mind there being other ADCs like Zeri, but we saw how that went and how she built Bruiser and Riot didn't like it. So with MF, it's a little weird. She could build a lot of things. You could go AP MF, you could go Lethality MF, and you could go Crit MF. Now Crit MF I think takes the longest to get going, and it's the most annoying to play because you really got to hit your like bouncing Qs. I mean, same thing with Lethality, but Lethality is a lot better earlier than Crit. Crit takes too long, even though Lethality and Crit do the same thing, they kill people. Lethality does it a lot earlier so you can ramp up. Crit takes a lot later, but I feel like Crit is overall the best late game. Crit MF late game, and Lethality is second place to this, I guess. Like, the ult will just kill you. Like, her team fight, if she gets a good ult, you carry the fight, that's it, textbook, it's done. Like, it's actually insane. And Braum isn't really played, because Braum is not that good. So her main counters or anything is just CC or Braum shield, which, again, is not really prevalent. So, aside from that, AP is kind of prevalent, but MF is really weird. I don't think she's played too often unless she's being abused by some annoying-ass build like AP or Lethality, where Lethality is fun. Again, I think Crit is the best one in terms of actual late-game damage, but how often do you get to late game and then you know, how fun is it? Because those are both two factors. So in terms of MF, I can see her getting buffed because I really don't feel like she's played too much, at least from what I've seen. Let's see. Base AD increased, W damage lockout, move speed delay decreased, W initial and max bonus move speed increased. Wow, I'm surprised they're giving her more move speed. That's crazy. Misfortune is very straightforward and easy to play ADC. True, which means she should be winning more often than average. Technically true, I guess. The harder a character is, the less they should win at lower elos, sure. And I guess Riot does take a holistic approach to these things, but while she's technically dealing as much damage per game as she was before the mid-season update, she's still missing some of her old strengths. Now that she's not rushing Youmu's, disgusting, she's not spiking as quickly or zipping around the map the way she used to. So we're giving her a small increase to her laning power and a lot of extra juice to Strut's bonus move speed. Let's see this bullshit. So her base attack is going up by 3, which is fine. Her damage lockout is going from 5 to 4 seconds. Excuse me. And that lockout is from anything. So it could be from minions, from champions, from anything. So they're reducing it by 1, which is a nice little quality of life change, I would say. The move speed delay to get the max amount, because it goes in tiers, is 5 to 3, so that's cool. The max bonus move speed is going up by 5, which is good. I don't want to say it's negligible, because like I said, move speed is one of the sleeper OP stats. And then the initial bonus move speed is now actually scaling, which is really good. I feel like this just is going to make MF feel better. Now again, in higher elos, in higher skill play, this is actually going to matter in terms of roaming and stuff. I mean, should MF be roaming? I think if anyone would make an argument for roaming, it's Quinn and MF personally. But I think this will help higher up in elos, but in general, this is probably just going to feel like a good quality of life thing. This doesn't necessarily help MF too much. I mean, again, she is getting a little bit of damage, but she's decently better. I don't even want to say slightly. I'll say she's decently better. This is not bad. Orianna. What do I think of Orianna? Orianna is interesting. I think she is, like I keep saying, hard to play. I think she's good, though, and I actually think she's quite fun if you like being an annoying little prick with ADHD who just, like, constantly wants to be doing something. It's similar to Karthus. Like, do you want to keep tapping Q every 2 seconds and, like, manage the ball? Yes? Then cool. And Orianna, I think it's a little harder to do, but her ult can also carry team fights, too. A good Ori ult is really good. I think Orianna is an extremely, extremely good mid laner, especially if you can land your ults on her. She's very, very good, but in a similar vein to Lissandra, where I guess she's a little hard. Now, granted, she has the opposite of Lissandra, where she has really good range and stuff, but you have to manage the ball, and a lot of people don't want to think. They just want to press a button and have ability go off. They don't want to aim it. They don't want to do this and that. But I think Orianna's pretty fucking good, but maybe because she's not as popular, they might raise her numbers up. That's the only thing I think, because Orianna is very unpopular from at least my experience. So let's see. Orianna has fallen a bit before her mid lane counterparts following the changes to mage items. We're looking to give her some power by bringing her base AD up and let her early attacks match other mages. See, the biggest thing with Ori, and obviously this is harder the higher elo you go, is Ori's passive is kind of useless. I mean, it helps for some slight poke, sure, and it definitely scales decently hard, but her passive really just feels like outlandish to her whole kit. For those of you who don't know, her passive is the more she autos you, the more magic damage she does to you on top of the AD of the auto. So she does free extra magic damage on her autos, and if you keep autoing the same thing, it's going to do more up to 2 stacks. So, and this damage isn't negligible either. If you can consistently auto the same person, it adds up, and it's really, really low-key and good. But because so many things with Ori are small skirmishes or pokes, you don't really have a way or opportunity, aside from if you get really aggressive with the W move speed, to really stick on someone and keep autoing them. Now, in extended trades, I think this helps if you actually remember it. But to increase the base AD, I think is weird. I think they should just lean more into the passive, personally. But let's take a look. So her base damage is going from 40 to 44. So not only is this going to help with CSing, but again, it is also going to help with poking too. Because that's the main thing that happens at the top level play. You take every advantage you can get, every little poke you can. So that's not bad. Orianna's decently better. She's slightly better. Slightly. Pantheon. Oh, good lord. So I know Pantheon got changed recently. I forgot, honestly, how he got changed. I think he got a big change, though, but I don't really remember. And thankfully, I haven't seen Pantheon too often. I have seen him a bit more, so that means the changes did land well. But did they land too well? I don't know. Pantheon is still Pantheon at the end of the day. He hasn't really changed much from that. Good early, whatever late. I mean, he's better than the old Pantheon in some ways. But yeah, I really don't know. I could see a buff for a nerf here. I don't know. The fact that he's here is interesting. So let's see. So Pantheon, we're pretty happy with the way that 14.11 Pantheon change is shipped. But we're adding a small quality of life buff on his W. Oh. So minion monster minimum damage is going from 50 to 60. This is nonsense. This is quality of life. Okay, cool. Oh my dear God. Skarner has a lot to him. Okay. So Skarner is a very, very weird champion. I don't understand how this guy is good. I really feel like old Skarner was more fun, at least to me. I've played new Skarner a tad bit. Not a lot, a tad bit. And I played him when he first came out. So this was before all the nerfs, because he did get nerfed. When I played him, he felt like shit. I don't think he was good. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Now, again, maybe, well, not maybe. I know it's different from the reality, because people played him after that, and he was really fucking good. And they nerfed him a lot. But I just don't understand. I feel like his ult is... Again, in niche situations, it's a lot better. But overall, I just feel like it's a lot worse from the old ult, just because it's so hard to do sometimes. Now, again, there are going to be situations where maybe you could grab 3 people, sure. But it's so hard to do because it's the stupid wind-up. Now, I barely see Skarner. I haven't seen Skarner. The one time I saw Skarner top was on my team, and that was top, not jungle. And he basically shat himself. So, he wasn't good. I really feel like Skarner just is weird, man. I don't know. To me, they have to front load his abilities in his passive because the ult is so hit or miss. It's like, it's really hard. Like, it's so weird to play Skarner. Skarner feels so weird now to me, compared to old one at least. So let's take a look. What are they doing? As Skarner has been out for a while and players have gotten better at him, we've seen a continued rise in his ban rate and an overwhelming presence in pro play. So that must mean he's high skill cap, I guess? As a fairly new, moderately difficult champion, he's simply winning too many games. And signs indicate the top lane is his most egregious role. Damn, look at this vocab. Holy shit. We're nerfing Skarner this patch with a few goals in mind. So I want to see what the issue is with him. If I had to guess, it's the Q and the passive. The W is easy to hit, but I feel like it kind of is whatever. And then the E is really weird. Like, I don't know if the E is OP or not. But it's definitely, I think, the passive in the Q. But let's see. So first, we'd like to make sure that Skarner fulfills the role of a tank. So we're taking away damage instead of durability. I hope they double down on his tank role. Second, we want to make the early game counterplay of top lane a bit more fair. Harsher mana cost before he buys tier and overall worse trading from Q, okay. These nerfs won't have a meaningful impact on jungle since he easily hits the damage cap on the first clear but still affects his damage while fighting champions. Okay, so what are they doing? So... For how much they talked, they barely did anything. So the mana cost on Q is going up slightly, and then the max health damage is going down by 5, which is a huge amount, actually. 15 to 10 is actually a pretty big amount. Holy shit. Okay, so Skarner does a decent amount less damage, and it costs more. I think these are okay nerfs, if that's the problem with him. I guess the problem was mainly the Q, but wow. I feel like the Q is easy to, like, play around. Because doesn't it stop on the first minion's hit? It doesn't go through minions, right? Which makes me not understand how Skarner top is so good. Like, it's so weird. He's melee. Typically, melees with no gap closer, I feel like aren't good. That's why Camille and Fiora is so fucking stupid. They have gap closers. And their damage is ridiculous, too. But, yeah, I guess Skarner's slightly worse. Or not slightly, decently worse after this. Wow. Then we have Talia, the person who now after... Well, I don't even know if it's after Aurora's, like, whole shebang with her lore, but I don't know when it happened, but Talia is now trans, so that's a thing. But either way, Talia is obviously a pretty good mage for pro play. I don't know if she's more a jungler or a mid laner, because I almost never see her. When I do see her, she does pretty well. She has a different style of play. Again, she's more of a control zoning mage. She takes time to do her stuff. She doesn't necessarily burst you, even though sometimes she does. If she gets like a good rock combo off with her like pushing. But she's very interesting. She's definitely anti-mobility for sure. But I think to play and do well as Talia, you have to be skilled. And there's some really hardcore Talia lovers, and I think that's because people like challenging champions in general. But I don't know what I think about Talia. I think Talia could use a buff just because, again, I really base it off of like, do I see them enough? And when I see them, what are they doing? I feel like Talia's good. But it goes into more of, again, the camp that I've been saying a lot recently, of she's alright, but she's just not popular, so maybe they might make her more popular, but I don't know. So let's see. Talia is currently extremely overperforming in jungle, and fun fact, she was never a jungler, she was always a mid laner. So we're specifically hitting some jungle levers. She was one of the fastest initial clears in the game, while also having great late game clears due to runic ashes. Nice. So essentially, they are nerfing the bonus monster damage from being flat and scaling to just lesser and flat, that's it. I don't know how big this change is, however, if this was there from the beginning of the game, she's losing a good bit of damage. So, and the scaling too, which is crazy. So yeah, Talia's gonna have slower clear. Noise. I don't really feel like she's that crazy, but I could be wrong. I don't really see her. Oh my dear God, what are they doing to Varus? Okay. So obviously, I think in the AD role, Varus has a very, very checkered history of balance. Varus is very weird. I feel like back in the day, Varus was really, really, I don't want to say bad, but he's very niche. Varus has a very, very weird kit. He's on the line of like, he's not a crit ADC. Like if you build crit Varus, it's a little weird, personally. Excuse me. The main Varus builds that have been prevalent, and one new one has been popping up, is 3. Lethality, on hit, and AP. AP is more of a new thing that they really kind of just nerfed. I don't think it really has come back up since, although it's still there, it's still fun, but it's more troll than fun anyway. Before it used to actually be ridiculous. It used to one-shot tanks like Cho'Gath, and it's like, wow, that's jarring to see. But that definitely wasn't allowed, and that got taken care of. So I doubt they're going to go over AP here, unless it's another new issue, which I don't think it is. So that leaves on hit. I doubt they're going to touch crit, because crit sucks. He shouldn't even build crit. Unless they want him to be a crit ADC similar to Corki now. Or similar to Corki treatment, where they moved Corki away from mid to bot. But who knows if that really worked. I barely see Corki at all. But, you know, they're basically probably going to touch lethality and on hit. And if I had to guess, maybe lethality, because this is where Riot really doesn't like lethality Varus, because it has very little counterplay. Varus has so much range on his Q, and even though the damage does go down the more things you hit, it's pretty decently fast and it's pretty decently easy to hit, so it's kind of just like a long-range nuke arrow, and it's really kind of unfair at certain points, because lethality is what it is, and lethality got buffed. So if anything, I can imagine them really doubling down and nerfing lethality, even though I feel like that's people's favorite build. It's not my favorite build. I love on hit personally. But yeah, no, they're probably going to take away Varus's most fun build, but let's see. So Varus has 2 builds right now, lethality and on hit, like I said. Lethality Varus is much stronger than most players realize. Oh yes, even after all of the nerfs. As maxing Hail of Arrows 2nd is better but less common. Meanwhile, on hit Varus has the problem of quickly approaching the attack speed cap of 2.5. And without lethal, you can't break it anymore, so his strength, I think, did get kind of nerfed from that. So 2.5 attacks per second, and suddenly doesn't have any passive anymore. Yeah, so his passive kind of becomes useless. If they make his passive transcend the attack speed cap, that'll be really good. And I really hope they do that. And all the while, Varus is the most picked bot laner in pro play right now. And, you know, no wonder why. He's a really good player, he's a really good character where he can self-engage, self-peel, great damage, works really well with supports. Nice team fighting ult too. Like, he has a lot going for him. It's similar to Ashe, but in some ways better. Because Ashe's W really falls off. I don't think any part of Varus's kit necessarily falls off. The E is probably the weakest part of the kit, and even then it has a place all throughout the game. The W for Ashe is kind of just like, it fizzles out, like it does nothing. So, later on in the game at least. So either way, we'd like to not only shake up the pro scene, but also make Varus a more enjoyable and intuitive champion to play. The primary change here is retooling of his passive. Instead of granting increasingly large amount of attack speed, it will give a smaller amount of upfront that should feel similar to the laning phase. What? But as the game goes on, gives the stat that synergizes with attack speed AD for autos, Qs, E, and AP. Wait, what? We're also powering up the spell weaving loop by giving more cooldown refund on blight pops. Interesting. Varus will have a strong spell. So again, the whole reason of like trying to really lean into blight is because you have to auto to apply blight or cast your ult. And a lot of what happens with lethality is he doesn't do anything but Q you from long range. So it's very anti-fun is what I would call it. But either way, so anytime they buff blight, they want to buff on hit though, or just have Varus not go lethality. Even though it's probably going to buff lethality too, but ideally Varus will have a strong spell weaving ADAS item build, so damage, attack speed, alongside his pure lethality and on-hit ones. Interesting. The second change was around making his skill order more intuitive and whittling away his pro strengths. As mentioned before, most lethality Varus players were maxing W second, so we're making ranks in W matter a bit more for lethality builds to close the power disparity there. Meanwhile, early game nerfs to his attack damage to his base AD and QW damage should make him less of a lane bully. Finally, we're making it a little bit more forgiving to use the WQ spell combo, giving it more time to activate. Wow. Interesting. So what are they doing? His AD is going down, his attack speed is going down. The passive. Oh, good lord. So his attack speed used to scale not only just from a base amount, but also from his attack speed that he built. So now it's flat, but it also gives AD and AP. What the fuck? Hold on. And then champion takedown obviously gives more. Wait, wow. And 15%. So the 15% of the attack speed scaling gives you the AD and the AP. So it's scaling off your attack speed to give you other stats too. That's kind of crazy, actually. What the hell? So now includes attack speed from champion levels. Attack speed cap increased from 2.5 to 2.763. What a random number. During champion takedown passive, meaning the passive itself can bypass. Oh my god. But it's only for champions, but oh my god, yes. During the attack speed cap. So on hit is buffed, baby. Let's go. So the damage of the W is going up. The missing health damage is based on rank, not on level. So now you don't have to max it for, or second, sorry. The Q lockout duration is now greater. Okay. That's a buff. And then basically cooldown per hit is from, like, what the fuck is the point for this? 12 to 13. Wow. Varus just seems giga buffed. I don't understand. Like, what? Like, I really don't understand this. Varus seems a lot better from this. What the hell? I mean, obviously he took some hits to his attack speed and his attack damage early, sure, but I think he way more than makes up for it. So they don't want him to be like a straight up lane bully in the straight beginning, but now he's gonna become almost like a monster. Like, what the fuck? I feel like this is like the exact opposite of what they're saying they want. I don't understand this at all. This seems almost like a mini rework, almost. Like, holy fucking shit, what the hell? I think Varus is a lot better after this. I'm shocked. I really want to test that when the new patch comes out. Either way, or when the new pass comes out, let me say that. So anyway, moving on to the next ADC, Xayah. So Xayah is weird. Xayah Rakan used to be really good for a time. Xayah and Kai'Sa used to be very meta for the pure fact that they're very self-sufficient. So in a similar vein to Varus, but not too similar, Xayah and Kai'Sa is kind of the apex of this, but Kai'Sa can basically do things herself because of her ult, and she gets a fat ass shield from it. She could chase you down, she could get away from you if she uses it right. It's a lot of options, but at the very end of it, it's always about providing some sort of possible safety. And it's the same thing with Xayah. Xayah's ult is very good. You could dodge Zed ult with it. I remember the first thing I remembered when Xayah came out was you can counter Zed with this. Zed was very prevalent during the time Xayah came out, and I remember her ult completely countered Zed ult, and I was like, wow, this is insanity. Like, we finally have a solution to that fuckhead. But since then, I feel like Xayah has hit her peak, and again, with most of this patch, people are not really at their peaks anymore. So Xayah is definitely one of them. Xayah feels interesting and weird. I feel like she's sort of an A tier, similar to Kalista, where she's good, right? And on paper, if you look at it, her W literally just gives her 20% more damage when it's active on her autos, which is really good. She's sort of a hybrid of Kalista, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, you want to, hit all the E's. Like, the E's are very, very important to hit. Similar to Kalista, where at the end of the fight is basically where you're going to get your big payoff. But I think Xayah does a little bit more, obviously for different trade-offs. She can't kite, even though she kind of can with her W, ironically enough. I think it's harder for her to do her big thing. It takes more setup. Because Kalista, once she autos you, the spear is in you. She just has to press it. Zaya actually has to work harder for it, but it's for a potential bigger payoff. And Zaya is a little bit more front loaded than Callista is, especially with the 20% extra damage on the autos. Now, can she be played without Rakan? Yes, I think she can. And so can Rakan. I think they're great without each other. They're obviously better with each other. But I don't feel like Zaya is that good because, again, it takes a lot of steps to really get the feathers good. And I feel like maybe it just takes a little bit too long. But I definitely think she's like an A tier for sure. I don't think she's S tier as of now. But I barely see Zaya at all. So I imagine because of that pure fact, she's probably going to get buffed here. But let's see. I wouldn't mind a buff either. Zaya's a little weaker than she should be, and I think her laning is the issue. And has completely fallen out of contention for the ADC pool. True. As such, we'll be reverting some of her recent ability nerfs now that she doesn't have the same ability, haste, and damage that the old Navori provided. But what is she doing? So the cooldown of E is going down by 1. That's fine. And then the base damage is going up by 5%. Or sorry, 5 base. Zaz, whatever. This is alright. It's whatever. Zachariah. I think Zach is one of the best characters in the game if you can play him well. I think his engage potential is insane. His cheese strat where you go top is actually kind of low-key good. And I think he's a great character. He's a great tank, does decent damage, good engage, great passive, relatively. It's like, what more could you really want? I think Zach is a very, very good character. Now, granted, does that mean he's going to get nerfed? Maybe. I could see a world where he gets nerfed. Even though I think they already did nerf him because of his top shenanigans. And I don't really see him too much anymore. So maybe it could go both ways, but I guess we'll see. I don't really know. I haven't seen Zach, so it's a little weird to say. And just because I haven't seen him, I don't want to say he's going to get buffed, but I feel like Zach should be one of their premier characters. Zach is one of their more creative ones, too. Either way, Lane Zach provides a pretty poor experience to everyone who has had to face him. Very true. As his trades are nearly guaranteed with his sustain makes him almost impossible to trade against. It's almost in a similar vein to Gragas. We're nerfing his early game passive healing in hopes of opening up more opportunities to whittle him down. Yeah, because that healing is actually insane. Like, I'm sad to see it's still prevalent, but it's good to see that it's getting nerfed. But like, Zach top was like insidious to people. Like that shit, you do that if you're a fucking asshole. But Zach was really good. But either way, so his passive, Cell Division. The healing from the Blobies is now based on level, so it's more evened out, but it's slightly nerfed earlier. So it's exactly what they said. I think Zach is going to be slightly worse, but he's still going to be pretty good. So, moving on to items. We have only one item change, and it is to Opportunity. So, I very distinctly remember that Opportunity, from what I remember, it's the item that was like Crown. Now, I don't know if they changed it. I don't know if they replaced it. I don't know how it's really any different, but from what I remember, there was a Crown item that basically gave AD the more you killed people with statues, quote unquote. And I think Opportunity is the same thing. I don't know why, when, or how they changed it. I honestly forgot. I don't know if I'm right, but let's read up on it. Let's see. Opportunity currently has only one core melee user and is otherwise the optimal AD caster item for most physical range champions. Jhin. In order to promote more choice of items, we're nerfing the lethality on ranged champions and buffing its move speed. Wow, so they're going against the players for this, which should help more melee champions decide to pick it up. So instead of just buffing it for melees, they had to smack ranged people as well. That's the thing I don't like that Riot does. Instead of making it better, they're lowering another person to make it better for someone else. It's like, now you're getting punished. So instead of the other side just getting better, they're actively punishing you and making it better. It's like, oh, I'm on this side of the fence, you're on that side. I got a nice breeze because I'm lucky. But now, instead of getting a nice breeze, you build a wall to funnel it all to yourself, and now I get nothing. And it's like, what the fuck? We can't both get the breeze, but you get like a stronger one? It's a really weird example, but it's the only one I could think of on the spot. But either way. So, Preparation Lethality, if this is even the item I could think of. Extraction, bonus move speed to King. Oh, wait, no, this is the one that gives you move speed, I think. If you kill someone. This is dumb. This item sucks. I don't even give a shit about this. Dark Harvest. Okay. Dark Harvest, I think, used to fill the niche of, obviously, Feral Flare, or all the stacking jungle stuff. But it really didn't, and I think Dark Harvest, I was about to say Market. Dark Harvest really kind of just sucks. I don't know who uses, aside from maybe a certain amount of people, like Karthus, Aside from that, I'm very hard pressed to think of who else would use it. Maybe Jin, but I doubt it. It's like this rune is so nerfed from what it used to do. And granted, if it's not nerfed, it's kind of ridiculous. But there's other ridiculous runes that I think are worse that have been let to be ridiculous for a lot longer, where it doesn't make sense why Dark Harvest isn't getting its time in the sun. It's very weird. So I'd very much like to see this buffed, because I really like the idea of infinite stacking. But either way. So they're not only changing Dark Harvest, but they're also changing Electrocute, with the goal of making them have more defined roles. For Electrocute, we want this to be more reliable and early game focused, which is fine. Picked for lane dominance in order to start your game off. For Dark Harvest, now they should say late game here. We want it to be the riskier cousin to Electrocute. You'll have to get your opponent low without a keystone to help you, but if you can do it reliably, it'll outpace Electrocute by the end of the game. We'll see about that. As Dark Harvest currently has a decent number of users in the jungle of all places, we're hoping the level scaling versus attack scaling ends up being roughly power neutral. The baseline cooldown is meant to attract laners, which is really where it should be mostly, I would think. Unless you could stack it off jungle. If you could stack it off jungle, that would be insanely good. Like, I wish they do that, actually. They could make Dark Harvest stack off jungle. As very few solo laners currently take the rune. No fucking duck, because there's way better options. Like, this thing is so trash. But anyway, the damage per level, or sorry, per soul. So let's see this. So it's not scaling base amount anymore, but you're getting more damage per soul. So let me do some quick math here. So 20 to 80 plus 5 per soul. So 80 divided by 9. So you'd basically have to get almost 9. So yeah, 9 souls to get back to what you used to be if you were at near high level or max level, to just have the base damage, which is interesting. I think this is just a straight nerf. I mean, obviously it scales harder, but excuse me, I think this fucking sucks. I don't know. And then the cooldown's going from 45 to 40. I think the cooldown sucks dick more. Like, make it 30. What the hell? I mean, obviously Dark Harvest is better. I don't think it's good enough. This shit still probably sucks. Electrocute. The damage is going up early, a little bit more down late, and then the cooldown is going from 25 to 20 at all times. I think Electrocute's just straight up better, honestly. Even if Dark Harvest outscales it, the games usually don't go that long anyway, and Electrocute you could proc a lot more often anyway, and it's easier, because for this one they have to be low. I think Electrocute just beats the shit out of this. Dark Harvest still sucks ass. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Recommended runes. In this patch, we're delivering some more manually tuned recommended runes because they have more data, I guess, and they're not as lazy. Cool. For anyone who's hardcore into parsing rune data, most champions see about 2% higher win rates. Okay, cool. So Zir, they're doing this. Trundle, Top, and Singe. Nice. Ranked promotion LP update. For a long time after being promoted to a new rank, such as silver to gold, players start with 1 LP, and this feels frustrating? What? Especially when winning at high LP values, 90 plus. Oh yeah, that's true. But see, I feel like this is fair, because when going from like big divisions, right? Or sorry, big rank tiers, I feel like the inter tier like changes that they did are way better, because you'll go from like 90 to 10, or from 99 to like 19. Like, you will gain in there, but from, you know, different divisions, I think it's or sorry, different rank tiers, I think it's fine to have this. Like, obviously it feels shitty, but how often are you going to really feel that? I mean, granted, you want to feel shitty no points in time, but compared to what ranked used to be, this is way, way easier, man. I swear to God. People just, like, always want to set a higher standard, which I'm not saying they shouldn't. But, like, damn, bro, we had it way, way worse. Like, this is nothing. But either way, I sound like a boomer. Players start with 1 LP. This feels frustrating. We are making a change to count LP as a normal win after being promoted to a new rank. It will be more intuitive and true to players' game to game rank journey with inflation control and LP optimization we've been doing. We're confident this change won't introduce inflation, because we have too much of that already in our economy, and won't bring competitive integrity. It's a win based on a healthier LP ecosystem. So if the LP as a normal win will add up to the sum of 0 post promotion, 1 LP will be added. So in the specific scenario, players will still start with 1 LP. I'm so confused, but it's a little different from what they're saying, I guess, but I guess this is fine. Whatever. It's a good change. Arena. So now there's a free champion rotation. Nice. We set up specific static. Oh, so it's not rotating. Free-to-play pool of 31 champions for Arena. These will be available to all players and are aimed towards creating a wider variety. So obviously Ezreal's going to be there. Yep. Our hope is that this gives you and friends you bring access to your favorite champions, so to complement whatever crazy arena strategy you're doing. I think this is a great thing. I honestly think one of the best things for League is Arena because it's so casual friendly. Like regular Rift, you need to learn how to lane, you need to learn metas. Obviously, you need to learn, well, you don't need to learn metas for Arena, you can have fun, but I think for regular Rift, right, you need to know all of these mechanics and stuff, warding, laning, jungling. You know, even if you're not playing, you need to understand what it is because you're dealing with it. And Arena just kind of takes all that away. So to give these free characters here, I actually could see an argument to where Arena is the main thing that gets people into League. And even, I mean, this is looking way into the future. I don't think it'll overtake Rift as the premier game mode, but I could see because more and more people could get into League from Arena and they just never play Rift, I think Arena could become its own honest ecosystem. Especially now that they're offering all these nice free like intro characters permanently. Like this is great. This is amazing. Holy shit. Balance wise, I'm not gonna read all these because that's gonna take too much time. And and cool. I mean, by the time I go back to Arena, because I haven't played in a hot minute because of the whole mastery changes, because Arena doesn't give mastery, at least as of yet, I don't really want to play it above ARAM, because at least in ARAM I could get chests for the champions I play. So, you know, that's the whole thing. But they're also changing ARAM here too. But once they fix the mastery thing with Arena, I'm probably going to play Arena a lot more. And hopefully enough time passes to where not only do they bring it back, because I don't think I'll make it in 3 months, but they'll also massively improve it. I would not be surprised if it becomes regular and it becomes thriving, which it already kind of is. Holy fucking shit, there's a lot to read. Okay. Greetings, ARAMers. That's me. We don't have any balance changes for this patch, but we're keeping an eye on our champions impacted by the rune changes. Skarner is also at the top of our radar. Again, I always say this, but I'll reiterate it here. I really feel like places like ARAM should not be heavily policed. And even if it's unbalanced, even if it's slightly unfair, the randomness kind of accounts for that. And I just think it's more fun. A perfectly balanced game is a perfectly unfun game. So I really think they should keep a more hands-off approach. Fingers on, hands off to ARAM, personally. But either way, we need to see how those land in Howling Abyss. We have a quality of life update. So, new reroll to bench cooldown. So, previously, if players rerolled their champion, then their previous champion could be picked by their teammates immediately. True. Now, your reroll champion will have a 3-second bench cooldown for your teammates, meaning that if you're unable to pick said champion and you can get them back without any stress, thank the Lord. That's actually really good. Goodbye bench sniping minigame. That was really toxic, but thank God. This change won't impact any of the existing swap with bench behavior as it focuses on rerolling, meaning if you swap with a bench champion, your teammate will still be able to pick the champion you gave up immediately, but if you personally reroll it, you can always go back to it. So quick purchase panel update. ARAM's boots and elixir selection will now be included in the quick purchase panel. Hullbreaker has now been added. What the fuck? Oh yeah, actually no, that makes sense because Hullbreaker, it doesn't matter if you're around teammates anymore. Nice. And then the bug fix doesn't matter. So quality of life, I'm not really gonna actually wait for more than 5 games. Oh, so they're getting the play thing ready, the mode select ready because they're gonna add swarm and then possibly other stuff. So that's kind of like a big change for the future. That's like putting the groundwork so they can have a lot of modes in the League client in this spaghetti code piece of shit. So that's good. Either way, upcoming skins and chroma. So again, light patch, 2 skins. I kind of said my opinion on them already, but I think the Fizz skin looks kind of ugly and weird, but if you like that shit, it's not terrible. I think the Milio skin is absolutely amazing, and it's a shame we can't see the effects, and I don't feel, I'm kind of lazy, so I don't really feel like bringing them up on screen right now, but I think the Milio skin is really cool. I'm always up to get these, like, new little skin lines. These don't have to be their own universes either. Like, we don't need to get more Rain Shepherd skins. I mean, maybe eventually we might, sure, but they don't need to have some crazy-ass lore like Project. They don't need to be spammed like crazy, like Star Guardian. Like, these things can just have, like, 1 or 2 iterations, maybe 3. Don't have to have some crazy lore, although it's fine if they do. I don't mind them evolving into more, but I think it's fine to just get more variety. I just like variety. I like a lot of people to be placated. So, you know, that's where it is. Either way, I like these skins, and I like that they're new more than anything. And the Milio skin is actually pretty fucking good. It's like, you know, your little rainy day, like, he's like a little kid go to school. He has a little froggy shit. I think that's so cute. I think these are really cool. I'm sad that Fizz got it. Fizz is, again, weird, but Everything else is really nice about these. I think the Millia one is absolutely amazing. But either way, that's gonna be the patch. So overall, a pretty whatever patch. I mean, some of the changes they did are kind of whatever. So let's see. Let's just go through it really quickly. So Brand is slightly worse. Gangplank is better. Gragas is slightly worse. Graves is slightly better. Callista is worse. Arthur's whatever. Dahaley Sin, okay, whatever. Yeah, this is a whatever patch. I mean, the biggest thing is the VARUS change. Like, I'm like, holy shit. I think, honestly, because of the VARUS change alone, not really much else kind of really matters. It's not a big patch, because, again, the big patch is probably for Swarm, even though I don't think that changes much balance-wise for League, but this is where now, when they update champions, these affect a lot more than just Rift. So I don't know how much of a balanced nightmare that is, but because then having their own balance teams, I mean, eventually what I could do is they have the money, but having your own separate teams for everything kind of breaks, I don't want to say the immersion, but if I play Xayah in Rift and then I play Xayah in Arena and they're different, it's going to really be jarring for a lot of players. So they're going to try and keep it, you know, relatively the same. Obviously, they have the specific buffs and nerfs, but that's only like a numbers buff nerf. It's not really too much, and it doesn't go to any extent where you really notice the difference. But it's a little weird. You know, it's definitely interesting that maybe they scale back their amount of balancing because now it affects multiple different things, not just Rift. And it's things that they actually care about. Because back in the day, they didn't give a fuck about Dominion, and they didn't give a fuck about the limited game modes like Earth or Ascension. Let's just say, shows you how old I am. But you know, I think back in the day they cared a lot less. And you know, like I said with the ARM thing, they just need to keep their hands off. I think some decent things were nerfed in this patch. I'm honestly gonna rate this patch because I really got to see how the VARUS changes land. I really want to play VARUS after this. I'll rate this a 5.5 Mark Merrills out of 10. I think it's a neutral patch. It's whatever. It's nice. They had the nice ARM quality of life thing in. The two skins or whatever. I think that the VARUS change is the biggest thing. I think it's just neutral to 5.5. I don't think it's anything crazy. So yeah, 5.5 out of 10 Mark Merrills. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in about 3 weeks when new patch comes out. And hopefully I can make these more condensed, or maybe one day I'll stop doing them because who knows. Recently I'm doubting, or not doubting, I'm questioning like how much stuff should I really do. I feel like I have very little time, and then when I get a job I'm going to have way less. But you know, a lot of stuff is coming, and now with the live action stuff, or sorry, live service nature of games, the more games come out that I want to play, the more I either have to drop because games don't ever end nowadays either. So, thankfully with League it's on a pass by pass basis. That's really when I play. But yeah, who knows? You know, I'm open to suggestions. If people like the patch notes, please let me know. But who knows? Maybe one day in the future I might, I don't want to say discontinue them, but hopefully find a way to do them faster. But maybe I might discontinue them. I don't know. Either way, time is becoming a resource that is ever decreasing. But either way, enough of that weirdo talk. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see everyone in 3 weeks. Hopefully. We'll see. Oh, and please watch me at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. I almost forgot that.